So for this video, I'm going to cover the quadratic equations, and we're only using the graphic method to solve for quadratic equations. So there's no algebra here, so we just want to do some warm-up questions. So I want to solve the equations using graphic method. So when I'm saying graphic method, which means that I'm mentioning the functions. So how can I use the function to solve for the following equation? X plus 3 equals 4. The first step here to make the y equals to the left side of the equation and y equals to the right side of the equation. So basically I just need to set the y equals to these things. So what is the left side of this equation? So left side of this equation equals to x plus 3. So what about the right side of the equation? So the right side of the equation equals to 4. So which means that my function is y equals x plus 3 and y equals 4. So secondly, I'm going to graph these functions into a single graph paper. So once I have these functions, I can actually graph these functions. So after I graph this function, I need to figure out what is the intersection point of this function. So the intersection point gives us a solution for x value here. So in this graph here, in the right-hand side, I show you the red function and also the blue function. So the red function equals to x plus 3, and the blue function equals y equals 4. So what is the intersection point for this function here? So the intersection point is at this location. So you see that? It's at 1, 4, right? So which means that the x value is equals to 1 and the y values is equals to 4. So basically which tells me is that the x values here must be equals to 1. So this is my solution, x equals to 1. So next I will cover what's the difference between the quadratic functions and quadratic equations. So basically quadratic functions are in red colors and the quadratic equations are represented in green colors. So you will see that the quadratic functions have at least 2 unknown variables in this course we learned. So we have unknown variable y and unknown variable x. And for the quadratic equation, we could see that we have only one unknown variable, so which is only x. So a, b, c are all constant numbers. And also notice that for all the quadratic equations, the right-hand side must be equal to 0. So if this number is not 0, you cannot solve the quadratic equation. So I'll explain you why this number must be equal to 0 in the next video. So next, I want to do the first example, x squared minus 4 equals 0, and I'm going to solve for this x. So what you could do is always make the y equals to left side of the equation and make the y equals to right side of the equation. So the left side of the equation is x squared minus 4. So the y equals to x squared minus 4, and also make y equals to right side of the equation. So y equals 0. So y equals 0 is the x-axis equation. So remember, so basically I need to find where the intersection form for this function intersect with the x-axis, and this is my solution. On the right-hand side, I show you the graph of the y equals x squared minus 4 and also y equals 0. So the red curve here is the y equals x squared minus 4, and the y equals 0 is the x-axis. So this one is my x-axis, and the equation for x-axis is y equals 0. So basically the solution for this x is the intersection point for this one. So I'm going to look for x value intersection point. So you could see that the intersection point x value is 2 and negative 2. So which means that at this equation, the solution of x equals 2 or x equals negative 2 because the graph here passes through 2 points here. So the y equals 0 passes through these 2 points, intersect with these 2 points. So I have 2 solutions for x value, x equals 2 and x equals negative 2. So next I want to cover how I could identify the number of solutions in the quadratic equations. So remember how we solve for x by graphical. So assume x is x-intercept of the quadratic functions. So I have given you 3 situations here. Y equals x squared plus q. So in this example, I just assume that the q is less than 0. So when q is less than 0, x squared function will transform downwards q units, and the x-axis will hit the quadratic function twice. So we expect to get 2 solutions when q is less than 0. So in the middle situation, no matter what the value p is, positive or negative, the quadratic function only hits the x-axis once. So basically, there's only one solution if I see something like this, x plus or minus p brackets square. The last example, we have y equals ax minus p squared plus q is a vertex form of function. So basically, when a is positive, q is positive, it's depicted in the first situation here. So when a is positive, the parabola opens up. Q is positive means that we shift the function upwards. So basically, when we shift the function upwards and it opens up function, we don't expect to see the function hit the x-axis, so we don't have the solution for this one. So also when a value is negative and q value is negative, we expect to see that the function, the parabola, opens down and it shifts downwards. So again, we don't expect to see this function hit the x-axis, so there's no solution for this case. So the maximum number of solutions you could see is only 2, so we could go from 2 to 0 solution.